CIA Director warns Pakistan. Leon E. Panetta, the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, has confronted Pakistani intelligence officials face to face with what the United States believes is evidence of collusion between Pakistani security officials and militants staging attacks in Afghanistan. An American counterterrorism official has said. During an unannounced trip to Pakistan's capital on Friday, Mr. Panetta met with the leader of the Pakistani Intelligence Service, Lieutenant General Pasha, and showed him satellite photographs and other evidence of what the CIA believes to be two faculties for the manufacture of bombs used by militants based in Pakistan against American forces in Afghanistan, the official said. The bomb faculties were in the northwestern districts of North and South Waziristan, both havens for militants. The official said Mr. Panetta was compelled to confront General Pasha after the CIA alerted the Pakistanis about the existence of the bomb-making faculties several weeks ago and asked them to raid the locations. But when the Pakistani army showed up, the militants were gone, making the CIA suspicious that the militants had warning from someone on the Pakistani side, which is very likely. The targets seem to have been tipped off, the American official said, adding, there are indications that some senior Pakistani officials aren't happy about it, and neither are we, of course. A senior Pakistani official said Saturday that at first there was no reason for Pakistan to be suspicious that the bomb makers had disappeared. Extremist groups often move locations, the official said. But now that the U.S. side has drawn our attention to the possibility of the Taliban being tipped off between the day the intelligence was shared and the day of our military action, we will work on finding out what happened. Mr. Panetta's meeting with General Pasha and the theory that there was a tip-off about the bomb-making faculties were first reported by ABC News and the Washington Post. Tensions between the United States and Pakistan have worsened since the American military raid that killed Osama bin Laden near the Pakistani capital last month. American officials say they have uncovered no evidence that anyone in Pakistan's senior leadership knew about bin Laden's hiding place, although the departing Defense Secretary, Robert M. Gates, said recently that he thought somebody in Pakistan knew, which is also very likely. American officials did not tell Pakistan about the raid until afterward. American intelligence and military officials have long said that elements of Pakistan's intelligence service have close links to Pakistani insurgents and the Pakistani Taliban. American officials say Pakistan supports the insurgents as a proxy force in Afghanistan, preparing for influence after American soldiers leave. Mr. Panetta, who is due to replace Mr. Gates as Defense Secretary on July 1st, said during his confirmation hearing last week that Pakistan, an important American ally, also remained a serious problem. Yes, a very serious problem indeed. He told the Senate Armed Services Committee that the relationship with Pakistan was one of the most critical and yet one of the most complicated and frustrating relationships that we have. Mr. Panetta added that Pakistan's nuclear weapons remained a concern because of the danger that those nukes could wind up in the wrong hands. Again, Mr. Panetta added that Pakistan's nuclear weapons remained a concern because of the danger that those nukes could wind up in the wrong hands. So, in conclusion, Mr. Panetta would seem to be a fairly smart man. It's also likely that his comment or observation could easily come true. So, what could possibly happen when the nukes wind up in the wrong hands? Revelation chapter 17, verse 10. And there are 7 kings or leaders, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space. 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goes into perdition. 12. And the 10 horns which thou saw are 10 kings or leaders, which have received no kingdom or nation as yet, but receive power as kings or leaders, 1 hour with the beast. 13. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, and chosen, and faithful. 15. And he said unto me, The waters which thou saw, where the whore sits or stands, are peoples, and multitudes, and nationalities, and languages. 16. And the 10 horns which thou saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. 17. For God has put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom or nation unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. 18. And the woman which thou saw is that great city, which reigns over the kings and leaders of the earth. Chapter 18. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. 3. For all the nations of the earth have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings and leaders of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies and luxuries. 4. And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill to her double. 7. How much she has glorified herself, and lived deliciously and luxuriously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she says in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire that reaches unto the soul, for strong is the Lord God who judges her. 9. And the kings and leaders of the earth who have committed fornication, and lived deliciously and luxuriously with her, shall bewail her, and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning. 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, like unto Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no human will buy their merchandise any more. So again, Mr. Panetta added that Pakistan's nuclear weapons remained a concern because of the danger that those nukes could wind up in the wrong hands. Yes, it's time for all prophecy to be fulfilled, because it's about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations. I tell the truth. This is the vision that I see, and these are more signs of the times, the end times, transition days, which is a continuing, day-by-day process of extraordinary changes, happenings, and events. It's also called destiny, and is preordained. Everything is connected, and everything is numbered. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 29. For lo, I began to bring evil on the city which is called by my name, and should ye be utterly unpunished, ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword or weapon upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith the Lord of hosts. 30. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. 31. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord has a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword and the destroying weapon, saith the Lord. 32. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. 33. And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. 34. Howl, ye shepherds, and cry, and wallow yourselves in the ashes, ye principal of the flock, for the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished, and ye shall fall like a pleasant vessel. 35. And the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. 36. A voice of the cry of the shepherds, and a howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard, for the Lord has spoiled their pasture. 37. And the peaceable habitations are cut down, because of the fierce anger of the Lord God Almighty. 38. He has forsaken his covert as the lion, for their land and earth is desolate, because of the fierceness of the oppressor, and because of his fierce anger. Yes, the fourth angel has begun to sound. This is a part of the vision that I have seen.